I'd like now to welcome along Ken Brisbane from Pilbara Minerals. Ken's a mining engineer with over 25 years' experience in surface and underground mining operations, including roles in mine management, production and brownfield and greenfield development roles across a range of commodities. Ken joined Pilbara in January 2016 and has led the development of the Pilbara lithium tantalum project, which progressed from first drill hole concentrate exports in under 4 years. This exceptional result has resulted in Pilbara Minerals now being the world's leading lithium raw material supplier with portfolio of growth options to execute as demand for battery raw material increases. Thank you, Ken.
And thank you, Mike. Thanks to the Diggers and Dealers team for the chance to participate this year. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your participation in the room, and a big welcome to those that are watching online. I'm pleased to say that it's a lot easier to present this year. This time last year, life was pretty tough and difficult to put a smile on your face. But nonetheless, this year, the swagger is back, as Fitzy would say, and we are ready for the global energy transformation. It has been an enormous year for Pilbara Minerals, and I'm really, really proud of what the team has achieved. We've weathered a phenomenal winter that had some high-profile casualties, and the reality is that we've emerged a stronger organisation, a bigger portfolio of assets in front of us, and I'm pleased to say that the market is also heading in our direction. And that's a lot about what I'm going to talk about today. There is, manifest change actually going through the natural resources industry. The electrification theme is just this incredible global phenomenon now. In the lithium raw materials world, first time around, it was all about China, but it's now a much, much bigger story. I'm not going to dwell too much on what's happening with EV sales, other than to say that I've joined Peter Bradford and Stewie as now a Tesla wanker as well. But really pleased with the end result. You've all got to get yourselves one. It's absolutely incredible. And we've got a lot, really what we feel is a really bright future in front of us, and I'll explain why that's the case. So out of the depths of winter, we were able to acquire our neighbour. A cost-effective transaction that's had the effect of consolidating the Pilbara asset base. And over time, that gives us a much, much more flexible operation. The ability to bring in new supply coincident with some pretty remarkable demand that's emerging downstream. We produce nominally a 6% lithium product. There's a tantalite byproduct credit. It too is actually pretty valuable, and there's been a bit of a run in the tantalum price this year. Why do I reflect on that? Well, we're one of the few that actually owns our tantalite outright. A quirk of history in the lithium world is that often the mineral rights were split down the middle. At Pilbara, we've been able to consolidate the entire mineral suite at least as it relates to lithium and tantalite. So it's an important byproduct credit. We have the former Altura assets. They're now rebranded the Nugget plant and operations, and very pleased with the NUML contribution to names in and around our project site. It's in care and maintenance today, but we're now active in the restart at the Nugget operations, and that's going to be a really important part of our future. Hold this thought. There's 200,000 tonnes of unallocated spodumene supply. It's not allocated in offtake, and that is really, really important leverage in today's market, and I'll explain why that's the case shortly. We've emerged from that long winter, really tough couple of years in 2019, 2020, and we're now basically back at 100% capacity for the former Pilbara Minerals assets, the Pilgan operation. The team is going really, really well there. It's been hard won, but our team now has some really incredible skills in recovery for spodumene. Great big flotation facility running off the back of a heavy media separation circuit with now industry-leading recovery rates. And that's one of the reasons why we were able to deal with those depths of winter, really poor pricing and really poor demand, which fundamentally improved recovery to the point where now we're achieving pretty incredible results. And that contributes to a materially lower cost base in operations. So that's all worked for us, meant that we've been able to survive and thrive in the current circumstance. So Pilgam plant running at 100% capacity, with the Nugget plant coming shortly. And here's the opportunity. It's a massive consolidated resource at Pilgangoora, huge mineral endowment, massive resource, massive reserve. And what that means is that we can contemplate how we're going to respond to market conditions. And I'd like to think that we're incredibly well placed. We are already the world's largest independent lithium raw material supplier. That is, we're not vertically integrated with a chemical facility. Again, that smacks of huge opportunity in today's market. And we have a lot of flexibility about how we grow and the investments that we make to continue to grow capacity. So as it stands, we have 580,000 tonnes of installed capacity, with the Nugget plant coming on, shown in green. And then we have this portfolio of expansion initiatives that come back to our Pilgam plant, with the ability to easily breach 1 million tonnes per annum of spodumene concentrate capacity. I've no doubt that over time, Pilgangoora will rival Greenbushes as the most important hard rock lithium operation globally. It is a massive opportunity, and you couldn't be asked to work in a better location than the Pilbara. Amazing place to be working, close to infrastructure, and again, a key contributor to a low cost in operations. Bear with me, I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into the structure of the industry and describe what represents a massive opportunity over, I would suggest, at least the next couple of years. When I started in the lithium world, we would go on knock-on doors in China for the purpose of selling spodumene, and there'd be about 5 buyers, a handful, basically. In the intervening period, oodles of chemical conversion capacity has been built in China, most of it actually commissioned, and a little bit's being built, of course, here in Western Australia, some other proposals elsewhere around the world. But the key point is that there is now easily 30 buyers as compared to the original 5 or 6 that existed back in 2015. And what's that's inspired, and especially now that demand is coming back, it's inspired the development, the inception of a genuine spot market in spodumene. Independent spodumene supply, like that Pilgangoora represents and Pilbara Minerals sells, matching with independent chemical conversion capacity, a genuine merchant market. A few suppliers, many, many buyers. And what that's opportunity, or what the opportunity represents, is the ability to step in with a sophisticated sales platform that has the effect of opening up that spot market channel. And that's exactly what Pilbara Minerals has done. We've built an independent sales or web-hosted sales platform. We've screened about 30 interested parties. We've qualified 27 of them, and they have now participated in their first auction on the BMX platform. 27 screened buyers, 17 of whom bid, as compared to the 5 or 6 buyers that existed back in 2015. How did we do it? We partnered with GLX Digital. We scoured the world actually for a platform that we thought would serve our purpose, and I'm really pleased to say that we found it in Perth, Western Australia. They're a fantastic team, really, really credible system, intuitive, easy to operate, as proven by the progress of our first auction. And here's what happened. We had 10,000 tonnes up for auction on Thursday afternoon last week, a 3-hour window for those screened buyers to participate in the auction. There were 62 bids. 17 individual active bidders. There was 5 individual groups who were prepared to bid, and they're all end users by the way, prepared to bid over US $1,100 per tonne FOB, 2 of which bid beyond $1,200 US dollars, and the winning bid $1,250. Now, to understand the significance of that, previously price reporting agencies had suggested that there was spot sales. Again, in inverted commas, you never really know whether it's spot or it's something that represents more like a longer dated contractual arrangement. But prior to this auction, the maximum price referenced for spot was about $900 US dollars a tonne. Again, the icing on the cake, this product, this is actually a little bit like our discard. It's 5.5%. The equivalent headline price achieved is over $1,400 US dollars a tonne, as compared to previously price reporting in the order of $900 US dollars a tonne. So why does it happen? Well, to understand this, I've got to go a little bit deeper again. Please bear with me. We set up the GLX platform to establish a sensible, sort of sophisticated sales channel to access this emerging spot market. And you've got to understand why it's such an opportunity, you've got to get into the structure of the way the merchant market works for spodumene. So what you're looking at here is on the left-hand side of this graph, 2 really important points in time. November 2017. That represented a high water in lithium chemicals. Lithium chemicals at that time, sort of nominally $24,000 US dollars a tonne if you're buying a battery grade hydroxide or even a battery grade carbonate at that time. The peak price paid for spodumene at that time, we got a cargo away at about $920 US dollars a tonne. I think the peak reported at the time historically at that time was about $950 US dollars a tonne. Okay, hold that thought. Moving to the middle of the graph, the lowest of the low ebbs. In that case, September 2020. Everybody's margin is crunched. $5,500 for the same chemical, a battery-grade lithium carbonate, battery-grade hydroxide. Everybody's margin is crunched to zero. There is no free cash flow. Our cost of mining, grossed up to a lithium carbonate basis or lithium carbonate equivalent basis, the cost of conversion, there's no margin, no one's sharing anything, its cash flow is zero. So a tough time in the market, and as I said, there were some high-profile casualties along the way. Now, what happens next? Today, we're in something like, it looks a little bit more like a normal market. The reference point is May 2021. The chemicals, they're about 12 to 14,000 US dollars a tonne. And your contracted price for your spodumene, what people might have considered to be the norm, about 680 US dollars a tonne, maybe $700 a tonne if you're lucky. We ran an auction in this new emerging spot market. We achieved the equivalent of roughly $1,400 a tonne for a 6% equivalent product. It's consumed the entire margin that was otherwise open to the chemical conversion industry. The entire margin has been handed to the miner. Why so? What an amazing outcome. Why so? Well, all of it is good news. 3 things have happened. Either or. People are taking a view that chemicals pricing is going higher. Maybe. Alternatively, they're desperate contractually on the other side. They've got one of these fancy deals with Tesla. Tesla's breathing down their neck saying, deliver your product. And they may not be able to because there's not enough spodumene. That might be another reason to pay $1,400 a tonne. The last reason, there is a genuine shortage. That one I'm certain about. There is a genuine shortage of spodumene in the market, and that means that the miners are going to attract a higher margin than the historical norm. That is the end of the sermon. In essence, the idea The idea that the chemical conversion industry is now stuck. They've built a lot of capacity without reference to the underlying raw material supply base. As a result, the miners are going to attract more margin. There's just logic in it. That's exactly what's going to happen. Now, when I think about telling you guys that story, you would not last year, you would not have believed me. But actually, we were starting to get the feel for that, in fact, very event happening. It's been building for some time. China has built too much chemical conversion capacity for the available spodumene supply. Now, here's the money shot. Let me ask you this. What if lithium chemicals go back to where they were in November 2017? A minimum $24,000 a tonne for your lithium chemicals. Imagine that. And then ask yourself, what is going to happen to spodumene if there is insufficient supply? There is incredible leverage there. And that's why Pilbara Minerals is so well placed. We are absolutely in the sweet spot for this next evolution of the industry's growth. It's really, really incredible, and we can consider ourselves very lucky to be there. But that's not the whole story in Pilbara, because we've got so many more other innovations underway. We're setting ourselves up to be, long-term players and bigger players in the industry over time. So we think about how we participate more downstream. We've got this amazing upstream business. We're selling spodumene, and today we're attracting top dollar. Fingers crossed for more dollars to come. We've got a very important midstream product development underway, whereby we think we can change the structure of the current spodumene market by value adding at the mine. Basically shipping something that's a much more sophisticated product and something that's 95% waste. We think that's going to be well supported by the industry. And of course, we already have direct participation, and we've highlighted the relationship we have downstream with POSCO, where we're looking to develop a chemical facility in South Korea alongside POSCO and further vertically integrate Pilbara production with such a facility. And we hope that there's more of those examples over time, including growing the relationship with POSCO themselves. Anybody who calls the hard rock story as being too carbon intensive now is calling it too early. There is huge innovations to come in this industry. As much as Greenbushes has been around for 30 years, this is still a young industry, and there's plenty of room for innovation. So we've got our midstream product, we've got the carbonisation initiatives at the mine itself. All of those things, innovative products to be produced over time, all of those things materially lower our carbon footprint and ultimately are going to make us a more resilient business as the world changes. Second last, unmute yourself. A federal government campaign, a bit of industry advocacy. We are a better industry than a lot of the behaviour that's unfolded in the last 12 months. So I encourage you all, work harder on the culture in and around our workforce, in and around our work sites, in and around our camps. We can do a much better job. And if you have a dinosaur who hasn't got with the program, don't just immediately send him down the road, because somebody else is going to pick up that same problem. Let's have a crack at rehabilitating individuals, turning them around, making them better people. And to my mind, that's going to be a much more sophisticated and better industry response to what represents a reasonably serious challenge to the future of our industry. If we're going to get the other 50% of the gender balance into our workforce, we've got to do it better than we're doing today. Lastly, really proud to be part of Pilbara operations, and I've been up there for a long time, and I just want to reflect quickly on the relationship with Nummel. Nummel are the traditional owners at the Pilbara project, and then further east heading out towards Marble Bar and towards the Western Desert. They're a fantastic group to be working alongside, and they are increasingly sophisticated in their capacity, capability and the offering that they represent to the mining industry. We have a really important joint venture underway, the Iron Merge JV, a joint venture between Simpec and the Nummel people, is building out our plant improvement projects on the Pilbara project, and they're doing an amazing job. We'll be commissioning there from early next month, so very much looking forward to that project coming on, and we can all be proud of the contribution that the Iron Merge JV has made to our operations. There's plenty of other stuff happening, but I think I've probably said enough. Thanks very much for your time, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much for all that excellent insight into the demand side of the industry, something that a lot of us wouldn't have known a huge amount about. So I'd love a question from the audience, if we might have one. I've got one just...
Ken, listen, thanks for the presentation. Just one question about the BMX platform. You mentioned that there were basically 27 accredited buyers, and obviously assume that, you know, Pilbara was the seller under that trade. Is the intention to have other sellers who are not Pilbara eventually come onto that platform?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and we do have reason to think about that, because over time you would imagine the market will become multilateral. At the moment it's being built for the purpose of Pilbara trade, but with a view to the market growing and inevitably more players entering the industry, it makes sense to create more volume in the spot market, because the benefit you get then is greater transparency. What is the real price? And I appreciate that's been very difficult to ascertain in the lithium raw materials world. So we are advocates of greater transparency. That's one of the reasons why we've built the platform and made a start. And we do like the idea that there will be more industry participants over time. Yep.
Thanks, Ken.
Another question in the audience? I've got one last question. I mean, leading up to 2017, in those prices, we were all very excited, and then then it took its downturn. And now that we've picked up in that demand side, there's a general feeling probably in the audience around the place that demand won't go away. It's going to keep on coming with all the presentations we've seen. And just how long is it going to take before the supply side across the whole business catches up, all the other players?
Yeah. No, it's challenging to imagine how big the industry can be, but I think the theme that you've described, the idea that it started with a China sort of led development story, that the incentives that ran through the Chinese economy inspired a lot of battery making capacity and value-added chemicals capacity. Now it's a much broader base. You've all heard the story about how the EV sales are taking off in Europe and Western Europe. Now, they're all, of course, important developments, because it means that there's a broader base for demand. It's not just about China. Having said that, China is still a key hub, because so much of the value-added chemicals make their way through China. And now, perversely, that's still good news from our point of view, because all that chemical conversion capacity that I described, it's very real and it's live and there's multiple buyers, are in fact the source of growth in battery raw materials for Europe in the short term, for Asia, ex-China, for the US. It will be sourced from China in the short to medium term, because the truth is there is no other front end to the battery raw materials supply chain, at least not on scale, in the same way that it's been developed in China. So we're pretty optimistic about what that means for spodumene from WA.
On behalf of us all, thanks very much for that presentation, Ken.